Road rage driver threatened Mike Tyson with a bat, unaware he was messing with Iron Mike. The late afternoon sun beat down on the congested highway, baking the asphalt and shimmering off the endless procession of cars. The air was thick with the acrid smell of exhaust fumes and the rising frustration of rush-hour traffic. Inside a sleek, black SUV, Mike Tyson sat calmly behind the wheel, his hands resting lightly on the steering wheel, his gaze fixed on the brake lights ahead. He wore a simple t-shirt revealing the powerful musculature of his arms, and a pair of dark sunglasses obscured his eyes, giving him an air of quiet intensity. He was listening to a classical music station, the soothing melodies a stark contrast to the simmering tension of the road. Suddenly, a beat-up, rusty pickup truck swerved aggressively from the adjacent lane, cutting sharply in front of Mike's SUV, forcing him to slam on his brakes. The classical music was abruptly interrupted by the screech of tires and the blare of his horn. Mike remained calm, a slight frown creasing his brow, but he didn't react further. The pickup truck, however, wasn't finished. It weaved erratically, then slowed deliberately, blocking Mike's path. From the driver's side window, a man with a wild, unkempt beard and a face contorted with rage began to shout obscenities, his voice muffled by the closed windows, but his aggressive gestures unmistakable. He shook his fist, then pointed a menacing finger at Mike. Mike simply sighed, a slow, deliberate exhalation. He glanced at his rearview mirror, then at the lane beside him, assessing his options. He was in no mood for confrontation, preferring to let the aggression dissipate. But the road rage driver had other plans. The pickup truck swerved again, this time pulling directly in front of Mike's SUV and coming to a complete stop, effectively blocking both lanes of traffic. Horns immediately began to blare from the cars behind them, a cacophony of frustrated anger. The road rage driver then threw open his door, jumped out of his truck, and stormed towards Mike's vehicle, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated fury. In his hand, he clutched a baseball bat, its wooden surface gleaming ominously in the harsh sunlight. "You want to play tough, huh?" the man screamed, his voice hoarse with rage as he pounded on Mike's window with his free hand. "You think you can just cut me off and get away with it?" He raised the bat threateningly, gesturing wildly. Mike remained perfectly still, his sunglasses still on, his expression unreadable. He didn't flinch, didn't react, simply watched the man's escalating fury with a detached calm. The other drivers, now completely stopped, watched in horrified fascination. Some began to record the scene on their phones, while others shrank back in their seats, hoping to avoid becoming involved. The air was thick with the smell of hot asphalt and the metallic tang of impending violence. The road rage driver, emboldened by Mike's apparent passivity, began to swing the bat in wide, menacing arcs, narrowly missing the side mirror of the SUV. "I'm gonna teach you a lesson, old man," he roared, his eyes bloodshot and wild. "You messed with the wrong guy today." He then slammed the bat against the hood of Mike's SUV, leaving a sickening dent and a loud metallic clang that echoed through the trapped traffic. Mike's head tilted slightly, a barely perceptible movement, but he still didn't speak, didn't move. The damage to his vehicle, however, was a clear line crossed. The other drivers gasped, some shouting for the man to stop, but their voices were drowned out by the escalating chaos. The road rage driver, now completely unhinged, raised the bat again, this time aiming for the windshield. "Let's see how tough you are when your ride's smashed to pieces," he shrieked, his face contorted in a grotesque parody of triumph. The bat swung downwards, a blur of wood and fury, heading straight for Mike's face. The tension in the air was unbearable, every witness bracing for the inevitable impact, the shattering glass, the brutal consequences. The bus driver in the lane next to them, a burly man named Frank, instinctively honked his horn, a desperate attempt to intervene. But it was too late. The bat was already descending. And if you're wondering what kind of man can endure such an aggressive, unprovoked attack without a single flinch, or what hidden power lies beneath that quiet exterior, then you absolutely need to hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss the truth that's about to unfold, a truth that will make this road rage driver regret every single swing of that bat. This story is far from over, and the real consequences are about to be delivered. Just as the bat was mere inches from the windshield, a blur of motion from inside the SUV. Mike Tyson's left hand, moving with a speed that defied belief, shot out and clamped onto the bat. It wasn't a grab, it was a snatch, a sudden, powerful interception that stopped the bat dead in its tracks. The road rage driver, caught completely off guard, stumbled forward, his momentum carrying him into the side of the SUV. His eyes, wide with shock, stared at the hand that had so effortlessly halted his weapon. It was a hand that seemed to be made of iron, its grip unyielding. Mike's sunglasses remained on, his face still obscured, but the sheer, undeniable power emanating from him was palpable. The road rage driver tried to pull the bat back, but it was as if it had been welded to Mike's hand. He tugged and strained, his face turning red with effort, but the bat remained firmly in Mike's grasp. Mike then slowly, deliberately removed his sunglasses. His eyes, dark and intense, met the road rage driver's. In those eyes, the driver saw not anger, but a cold, terrifying calm, a depth of experience that instantly stripped away his bravado. The road rage driver's face, which had been contorted with fury, now drained of all color, replaced by a dawning, horrifying realization. He finally recognized the face, the distinctive tattoo around the eye, the sheer, undeniable presence. The old man he had threatened, the tough guy he had tried to intimidate, was none other than Mike Tyson. The recognition hit the road rage driver like a physical blow. His jaw dropped, his eyes wide with terror. He tried to speak, but only a choked gurgle escaped his lips. Mike, still holding the bat with one hand, slowly opened his car door. The road rage driver instinctively recoiled, stumbling backward, his earlier aggression completely vanished, replaced by pure, unadulterated fear. Mike stepped out of the SUV, his powerful frame unfolding, radiating an aura of controlled power that seemed to make the very air around him vibrate. He didn't speak, didn't make a threatening gesture, but his mere presence was enough to send a shiver of primal terror down the road rage driver's spine. Mike then, with a fluid, almost casual motion, twisted the bat in his hand. The road rage driver let out a yelp of pain as his grip was effortlessly broken, the bat now completely in Mike's possession. Mike then slowly, deliberately examined the bat, his gaze lingering on the dent it had made in his hood. He then looked at the road rage driver, his eyes unwavering. "You like to hit things with a bat?" Mike's voice rumbled, low and guttural, still carrying his distinctive lisp, but now imbued with an undeniable edge of menace. "You think that makes you tough?" The road rage driver was trembling uncontrollably, tears now streaming down his face, not from pain, but from sheer terror. He tried to apologize, to stammer out an excuse, but his words caught in his throat. Mike didn't strike him. He didn't need to. The psychological impact was far more devastating. He held the bat, not aggressively, but with a quiet, terrifying confidence. He then, with a sudden, explosive movement that made everyone jump, snapped the wooden bat clean in half over his knee. The sharp crack echoed through the stunned silence of the highway, a chilling testament to his raw, unbridled strength. The road rage driver's eyes widened even further, his face now a mask of utter horror. His companions in the pickup truck, who had been watching in stunned silence, now looked at each other in terrified disbelief. Mike then tossed the two broken pieces of the bat onto the ground, letting them clatter against the asphalt. He then took a single, slow step towards the road rage driver. "You messed with the wrong guy today." Mike said, his voice still low, but now filled with a quiet, chilling finality. You damaged my property, you threatened my peace, and you learned a very important lesson. He then pointed a finger, not at the man's face, but at his chest, directly over his heart. Real strength isn't about how much damage you can do. It's about how much control you have over yourself, over your anger. The road rage driver, utterly humiliated and defeated, stumbled backward, his face pale and clammy. He looked at Mike, then at the broken bat, then at the long line of cars behind them, their occupants now watching with a mixture of awe and satisfaction. Without another word, he scrambled back into his pickup truck, his hands shaking so violently he could barely turn the key. He started the engine. Then with a screech of tires, he swerved around Mike's SUV and sped away, disappearing into the traffic, leaving behind a trail of shame and fear. Mike Tyson simply watched him go, then turned and calmly walked back to his SUV. He got back in, started the engine, and slowly, deliberately pulled around the abandoned pickup truck, resuming his journey. The classical music, which had been interrupted, now resumed its soothing melody. The other drivers, who had witnessed the entire astonishing encounter, slowly began to move, a collective sigh of relief rippling through the highway. The bus driver, Frank, gave Mike a thumbs up, a gesture of profound respect. Mike simply nodded, a small, almost imperceptible acknowledgement. He continued his drive, the dent in his hood a silent testament to the encounter. But his peace and his control fully restored. Respect isn't taken by force. It's earned by dignity and defended with unwavering control. Silent doesn't mean powerless. Sometimes the quietest person carries the greatest power, and the most profound lessons are taught not with words, but with instant, brutal consequences.